Peace and blessings, beautiful souls. I am Brandi L. Bates, and you are now tuned into Power Podcasts. Thank you for listening. Tremendous love and respect. Tonight, we're discussing more from the Strategies series. You can find me on Twitter at Soledad Francis and on Instagram at Brandi is winning. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet today. You'll find these podcast talks archived on YouTube via the I Am Brandi Bates YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share, especially on iTunes and SoundCloud. Shout out to at April TMR and at Mr. Ari L Jr. for leaving love on iTunes. I appreciate you sincerely. Comfort the disturbed, disturb the comfortable. Someone said comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Tonight we're talking about futurology and the SOULPRINT. Futurology and the SOULPRINT. A little about the super blood blue moon this week, the super blue blood moon. So by the time you listen to this, the eclipse will have happened. The blue blood moon eclipse's energy lasts for almost 4 months though, folks. Understand first off, know this. People say, well, how do I get information about, this type of thing? Well, here's the thing. You have to study the stars. You have to study the movement and the alignment of the celestial bodies, and then see how they interact with you, yourself, your family, your friends, and then you can start putting 2 and 2 together. It's really that simple. It's like mathematical deduction. Anytime you have eclipses usually come in twos. So these particular eclipses that happen in the beginning of January and the end of January, making it a blue moon, as you hear people sometimes say, oh, once in a blue moon. I like to do something once in a blue moon, every blue moon. And as we all know, the movement of the moon controls the movement of the tides. So understand again, the blue blood moon eclipse's energy is going to last for months and months and months and months. You sometimes feel it beforehand. Some people just get completely out of pocket during a full moon, let alone a blue moon or a blood moon. All Cancerians, my fellow Cancerians, summer solstice born babies, you are affected the most anytime the moon decides to be petty. Also, Leos, all the Leos. This particular eclipse is touching your life in all sorts of kinds of ways. You and I know, and I know that you know that I know that you know what's really going on. But what does that mean for you? The blue blood moon. What does that mean for you? No matter who you are. Whether you're an Aquarius sun or a Libra sun, Virgo moon, Capricorn rising, right? Seeing a super blue blood moon has got people excited for all kinds of reasons. Number one, it hasn't happened in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, so it's very rare. It's the combination of a total lunar eclipse with a blood moon plus a super moon and a blue moon. Super rare, hasn't happened in a long, long time. Whether you are astrologically inclined or not, you will be affected. You are affected. Your finances are affected. Your money, your life, your relationships, your career, your mind, your peace. Your peace of mind is affected. And so the first one of 2018 took place on January 1st, and the second, January 31. A blue moon, remember, a blue moon gets its name when it's the second of two full moons to appear in the same calendar month. That's a blue moon. So again, the first one of 2018 took place on January 1st, and the second, January 31st. Blood moons are thought to be part of prophecies, originally serving as an omen in the book of Joel, or Joel, where it is written, "The sun will turn into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." I always try to write my books and do things in alignment with the sun and the moon and the stars and the movements of the seasons, because those were our original calendars, not the typical 30-day Gregorian calendar, but the ancestors and the elders always used the movement of the sun, the moon, the stars, and the alignment of nature and the seasons as their calendar. The sun is in Aquarius and the full moon is in Leo. Not just any kind of moon, but a blue blood full moon in Leo. Again, folks, this is super, super duper duper huge in a big major way. And it's asking you, it's time to ask yourself, who do you really want to be? Who do you really want to be? Again, we're talking about futurology and the soul print. The moon is in the representative force of our maternal energy. So I always think of the moon and the mama in you, right? It's the essence of our subconscious force. So just like we learned as children in science classes, the moon itself carries no reflective light on its own. It seeds the sun to magnify its presence, and it reflects that reality to our world. Yet this lack of light doesn't leave the moon void of force, because it has its own gravitational power, right? And the moon moves our oceans. It signals the changes of season. It's the sign of the month cycles. And in some countries, women follow the phases of the moon to time pregnancy. Okay, so the moon is a spiritual guide and a literal guide to animals who will lay eggs during a full moon. Some partner up for mating in the spring after winter has passed. The moon is vital to the ebb and flow of nature, and as a blue blood full moon, it changes its face from red to blue while simultaneously distancing itself from Earth. So many ramifications of that. You had the State of the Union address. You have the red and blue of the, some say the liberal and conservative, or Democratic and Republican, the Republicans and the Democrats, right? But there's a full moon every month, folks, and each one brings both events and our feelings to a head. That's just on any given month. But because this one's an eclipse, which means the sun, earth, and moon are aligned, it's more powerful. Just getting back to your primal roots to help understand what's going on in your business world, your thought world, your love life, your fate, your children, your family, your resources, even in many ways. 4 things you should know about your calling as I talk about the soul print. Number 1, you don't get to choose your calling. Okay, I don't know where we get this notion that, you just decide you want to do some shit. As much as I would love to be a singer, I just can't, my knees don't bend that way. That's just not my ministry. And so I sound good in the shower, right? But Grammy award winning, it's probably not going to happen, right? And that's why it's called a calling. That's why it's called a calling, a calling, a calling. We can't choose what calls us. We can't choose what calls us. We can only listen close and have the courage to accept what it tells us. And the thing about callings, they usually arrive as some form of pain. I talk about this, shout out to Imani Allen in the book, The Art of Grind. If you have not picked that up, please do yourself a favor. Get that, cop that, The Art of Grind. All the seeds you need to just really win and live your best life in 2018 or 2019. It's one of those you can come back to it again and again if you are inclined to evolve. But callings come in the form of pain. We think that shit is supposed to be sweet all the time, and that, when we're walking in certain seasons of our lives, that it's going to feel good and feel great. And I'm here to tell you, it's never like that. When we're bringing forth new life, there's pain. When we grow, there's pain. When we learn new things, oftentimes there is pain. Humans learn best through pain, unfortunately. I didn't make those rules. We're just talking about, if you just go back and study history and collectively study human nature, right? And the thing about callings, they're like an itch, a yearning, a slow deadening of the soul, a restless knowledge that you are meant for something else if you can only figure out what it is, right? And so the body knows intuitively. The body knows, the soul knows, the spirit of you knows what that calling is, because it has lived and existed for many, many lifetimes. And as your consciousness enters into new bodies and enters into new realities, the soul, though, is ancient and it knows, right? And so the body knows. And finding your calling can be like the child's game of hot and cold. When you're moving away from your calling, the body treats that as cold. Nothing less than self-betrayal. And what you fail to bring forth can destroy you, right? The body finds some way to break down. You get sick, you get depressed, you get sick and depressed, right? You in your bag, you in your feelings, nothing is going right in your life. And there are some people who live for years and years and years and years and years like this because they refuse to listen to their life's calling. They refuse to walk in the spirit of what they came here to do. They want to do some other shit. Or they're listening to other people who have no idea what their true calling is. Stay with me. I promise you, I'm going to get you to the destination. So understand, it's in the struggle that you grow. It's in the struggle that you stretch, you learn, you change, you become who you are supposed to be. And number 2, you can only live out your own calling. Your calling grows out of your soul print like a fingerprint. It's intricate and complex and unique to you. You're born with it inside you. No one else can give it to you, although some might try, starting with your parents, right? Jung once said, the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. The greatest burden. And as we grow up, we learn how to please and we assemble our false self accordingly, right? That collection of ideas and notions and shoulds, what we should be and how we should act and the goals we should pursue in the world, right? Your mom wants you to be a lawyer. Your dad wants you to be a doctor. Everybody, all your friends who grew up with you, they want you to be a business person. But what do you want to be? What's within the fabric and the fiber of your being, calling out to you to do? And to get at the truth of your calling, a lot of times you have to crack open that false self and see what lies within. And so you have to recognize the aspects of your life that don't belong to you. And as a result, they're going to be weighing you down like a ball and chain. They're baggage. And a lot of us are walking around with our parents' baggage. Hello? Anything that is worth having is worth working for, folks, including your purpose. And it is solely yours, and you are uniquely purposed to do it. Your gifts point the way to your calling. Your gifts point the way to your calling. The problem with your gifts is that they generally need to be recognized as gifts by somebody other than you. Usually as early as childhood. A lot of times I tell people all the time, who you were in your childhood, I say between the ages of like 6, 7, 8, and 16, that's who you truly are. If you were a nerd, that's who you really are at your core. If you were just out of pocket, out of control, that wild kid always getting into shit, that's who you are. Whoever you were between the ages of 8, I'd say 6 to 8 years old to 16 years old, that's who you are. That is your true character, and your calling is linked to all the shit you were interested in at that time. Everything else you learn. You know, we get jobs because we have to earn a living. We get into business ventures because, you know, we may be good at something. And again, we have to earn a living. We have bills to pay. We have to put food on the table. And so we find what works best in doing that. And that becomes what we walk into. But that may not necessarily be linked to your life's calling. And it's important to understand that if you get too tied up and tangled up with what the world is requesting of you, if it is not in alignment with your soul print, then you will experience distress, depression, maybe sickness, maybe illness, and you just a general lack of happiness. And you may try to fill that void with a relationship. You may try to fill that void with drugs, alcohol, with food. You may try to fill that void with children or with a pet or with, you know, shit of the world, but it's never going to fill you. There's always going to be an emptiness until you begin to walk in your calling. And another thing is, you don't have to have just one calling, because it may be your calling to be a mother or father, but it's also your calling to be an author or an attorney or a father and an engineer or a mother and an actress, right? Or an entrepreneur and a game changer on the world stage. It just all depends on what's in you. And everybody wasn't meant to be, you know, in front of the camera and all big and famous. Some people are going to generate their greatest joy and happiness just from being behind the scenes, helping others, being a linchpin, if you will. Okay? So someone needs to recognize what comes so easily to you that you will grow up taking it completely for granted, thinking that everybody else can do that. Guess what? They can't. Some of the best singers I know, I remember growing up with people who knew how to sing so good. I mean, bring tears to your eyes. And they're just like, oh, ha, 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 you know, whatever. You could do it too. And you're like, nah, I don't sound, again, only in the shower, right? And so, as Stephen Cope points out in his wonderful book, The Great Work of Your Life, your gift, which he refers to as the gift, is indestructible. It's indestructible. Abuse can't destroy it. Addiction can't destroy it. Adoption can't destroy it. Divorce, bankruptcy, none of those things can destroy your gift. It's permanent. It doesn't disappear because you neglected it for 40 years, which means it's never too late to circle back to what you might have missed before, okay? So it lives near the center of you, in the core of you. And lastly, Your calling is where your gift intersects with the times. Your calling is where your gift intersects with the times. Stay with me. Our calling is where the gift that's inside us from birth connects with the world we're born into. It's our responsibility to develop the gift in the way it's called for, to serve the world, not just ourselves. The world, right? The gift. Cope talks about this in his book, taking these ideas from the Bhagavad Gita. I love this. The gift cannot reach maturity until it's used in the service of a greater good. That's what turns it into a gift. See, because you can be talented, you can be a great writer, a great singer, a great dancer, an excellent person with math and numbers, mathematician. You can be an amazing chef, an amazing artist, right? But until it's serving the greater public, the world at large, it's not a gift. By serving, it turns into something of value. Okay? In order to ignite the full ardency of your calling, the gift must be put in the service of the times. And so here's the caveat, right? The caveat. Your life belongs to the world. And although the creative process of whatever it is that you do belongs to you, the final outcome, the fruit of that labor, is not yours. It's beyond you. It belongs to the world. Thomas Sowell said, life does not ask what we want. It presents us with options. The evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins in 1976 coined the term meme for a unit of cultural imitation. And Dawkins proposed that, really interesting stuff, folks. Dawkins proposed that ideas could be subject to Darwinian principles as well, since they appear to replicate by means of cultural transmission, right? And so to label this kind of information, Dawkins coined the word meme as the cultural analog to a gene. Okay? And so understand, we live from where we are. Not where we can possibly be, not where we used to be, not who you used to be when you was in college, not who you used to be when you was 30 pounds lighter, not who you are going to be in 30 years when you're balling and you're an entrepreneur and you're a mogul and you're a game changer and you're wealthy and you're powerful and living in prosperity and abundance, but where you are right now. We live from where we are. We live from where we are. Folks, I grew my way out of poverty. I wrote my way out of poverty. I grew up in all manner of dysfunction. All manner. And I grew my way out of poverty. I grew my way. I wrote my way. I declared and I decreed. And I spoke my way, and I acted, and I walked it, and I educated myself out of poverty. It's our ultimate purpose to continually evolve as a species by both physically, emotionally, and as change is the mechanism for growth and development. And if we fear change, we stunt our own growth, and with it, human evolution. And so thinking is difficult, folks. Somebody said thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Where you get the book, Think and Grow Rich. You would think that thinking is the easiest thing to do, right? But it's not. Most people honestly do not think. Most people regurgitate ideas and concepts that they were taught or told or learned, or in other words, there's, regurgitating something they've experienced. That's why we admire the real creatives. be that in music or fashion or finance or entertainment. We value true creativity because it's a rare thing for someone to tap into that creative realm of the subconscious mind and not just rip off some shit that's already been done and tweak it a little bit, right? Rune Lazuli says, be the love you never received. Futurology and the SOULPRINT. Be the love you never received. It's like, people say, well, I want to get married. I want to get into a relationship. I'm looking for my soulmate, or I'm just looking for, the one. First off, there's not a one, because you're not the one. And although I'm happily married, 110, 160% happily married, I will say this. No one person can be everything for everyone. That man cannot be your provider, your best friend, your confidant, and your lover, homie, lover friend, and the person you go to for secrets and advice. He may be 1 out of 3, right? Or maybe even 2 out of 3. But I can promise you, you're not all of those things for him. And vice versa. She cannot be as strong as your mother and a provider and this, perfect vixen behind closed doors, right? Windings in the streets. Times roaming in the streets, winding in the sheets, right? But there is no one. And so be the love you never received means, number one, all the shit that you want people to do for you and how you want people to see you and how you want people to treat you, do that for yourself. Send yourself some flowers. Take yourself out on a date. Get dressed. Take yourself out to a nice restaurant and get cute, and send yourself some flowers. Walk in a certain level of respect for yourself, and people will then come at you and know how to come at you correct and come to you correct. And also, a lot of times when you stop chasing and stop seeking and stop pressing and just be, it's kind of like, the person who you want, the minute you stop pressing them and being in their face, that's when everybody will be attracted to you. But as long as you're seeking and pressing and trying to force shit, it's not going to happen. But the minute you're like, you know what? I don't even care. Whatever, I don't give a fuck how it turns out. That's when something happens. Take your attention off of it for a moment. Set your intentions, be forthright in your intentions, but then take your focus off of it. Take your energy away from it and allow it to be. In other words, sow your seeds in good fertile soil, water them, and allow nature to do its thing. You have to step out in faith and lean into the scariness to get to the place that is worth it. Anything that is worth having is worth working for, including your purpose. It's solely yours. And you are uniquely purposed to do it. If you don't do it, or you never find it, you are not only letting yourself down and literally wasting the life the Most High gave you, but you're letting the rest of us down too. Because I've said it before, your great grandchildren, they are depending on you to handle your shit. The future of people who do not know you, who will never ever know about your existence, are depending on you to get your shit together and make some things happen. They are literally depending on you for their very existence. Eric Hoffer said, every great cause begins as a movement, becomes a business, and eventually degenerates into a racket. We see that with the government. We see that going on in the world. And I say that to say, speaking of the futurology and the SOULPRINT, genetically engineered humans will arrive sooner than you think. I've been talking about this, and it's like people are just really missing what I'm trying to tell you. Folks, I I've said it before, I will say it again. The show on, and I have homework for you guys, but this is good, fun, happy homework. But the show Black Mirror is documentary. It is not just a show. Understand, a lot of the things that we see coming out of Hollywood, and I know what I'm talking about, a lot of the things that are coming out of Hollywood are predictive programming. To put it out there to see how the public responds. What do they think? How do they respond? They have whole think tanks on this shit. It's a documentary. By the time you see it on television, not only has the idea been fleshed out, but it's been mapped and is already either in the planning, if not already in the works. That's why a lot of the time, go back and look at old movies. Go back and look at some real old movies as far back as you can. And it's so hard to imagine at that time how far we've come technologically speaking. And at those times, people wouldn't have imagined that we would be where we are now. You know, in the 1800s, they couldn't imagine the concept of a Samsung or Apple Watch or, an iPod or an iPad or drone technology, right? Or solar powered automobiles. So understand, a lot of the shit you see on television, it's already in the works. Black Mirror is documentary. They are seriously bioengineering people, genetically engineered DNA, okay? And whether it's emergent cloning technologies or advanced gene therapy, we're quickly approaching a world in which humans can and will change the way they live and die, folks. Get with it. This is what we're looking at, 2018 and beyond. We single out the industrial revolutions of the past as these major turning points in human history because they marked major ways in which we changed our surroundings to make our lives easier and better and longer and healthier, right? So the switch from hunter-gathering and nomadism to settled agriculture meant that we were able to feed much larger populations and develop great cities and all the urban civilization that goes along with it, even, yes, including gentrification, folks. But there will also be a tendency for us to merge our daily lives, our daily activities, ever more seamlessly with information machines, informatic machines, if you will. It's science fiction now, right, to talk about Google being accessible by thought, but that's coming for you. I want you to understand that's not as far-fetched as people may think. In 30 or 40 years, it's possible to envision brain-machine interfaces that you can wear, right? Maybe fitted to the outside of your skull in a sort of non-intrusive way that'll allow you to connect directly with all kinds of machines and control them at a distance, so your sphere of power over the world around you could be greatly expanded. We're already seeing this with wearable technology. It's already happening, folks. And so I want you to start to make this work for you. Okay. I'm gonna list a couple of movies because I know when I mention books, it's difficult to read 20 or 40 books in a sitting, and especially if they're thick and thought-provoking and require you to really quiet down and tap in and tune in. But these are movies that you can either get on Redbox or Netflix or cable or YouTube. You can find them. Okay, I'm just gonna list a couple of them and I'm gonna let you go. These movies you need to see because they are going to help you to understand futurology and the SOULPRINT, either in sci-fi metaphysical ways or just on some really preparing you for what you need to succeed and giving you strategies. So again, these are my list of my recommendations in lieu of books for those who are not really, readers. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind from 2004. classic with Jim Carrey. You know, Jim Carrey is on some deep metaphysical shit. He really is, believe it or not. You know, say what you want, but he's on to some things. One of my favorite movies. So much metaphysical truth. Her, a Spike Jonze love story. Moon from 2009. Moon. Coherence from 2013 on some labyrinthine logic, really deep. Upstream Color from 2013. District 9, huge one, dropping science. Do you hear me? District 9 from 2009. Primer, Donnie Darko, dark, deep, metaphysical. Futurology and the SOULPRINT. Okay, Donnie Darko from 2001 with Jake Gyllenhaal. 12 Monkeys. I talked about this when they released the Ebola virus. You guys know this shit's man-made, right? HIV, AIDS, Ebola, many forms of cancers. We're going to see more and more forms of cancer as they try to depopulate the planet. You're going to see more and more of these plagues, these man-made plagues that are brought about through the introduction with vaccines and whatnot that mutate. And that's the beauty, because they try to create these viruses that end up mutating, and they don't kill off as many people as they thought they were, because man is not in control of this shit. 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis from 1995. Brad Pitt is in it too. It seems a little quirky, but read between the lines, right? Walk between the lies. Gattaca out of 1997. Gattaca. It deals with the bioengineered, perfect, genetically altered children that we're going to start seeing. In the same way that you're seeing more and more cloned cows and sheep. They were doing this in the 90s. I'm telling you now, people are creating designer babies, designer children. This is happening. This is really happening. I Origins, Frequencies, Predestination. These are movies, again, write them out. The Congress from 2013. It's like a acid trip of a movie with Harvey Keitel. Videodrome, oldie but goodie, out of 1983. My 80s babies. Strange Days with Angela Bassett. Another Earth was produced in 2011 on some deep duplicate Earth. Please understand, we're in a different time. This Earth has ascended. We have experienced ascension after ascension. And so when you talk about the Mandela effect and you talk about a new Earth, it's already happening. There are multiple parallel universes, whether you choose to believe it or not. It doesn't matter whether you believe the shit or not. Just like you don't have to believe the sun is going to shine tomorrow, the sun is going to rise, or the moon is going to set. It's happening, right? Another Earth. Deep. Starship Troopers, 1997. The Man from Earth, produced in 2007. Stranded is out of 2001. Traveling Salesman. Extracted, kind of creepy. Extracted, the movie Extracted, produced in 2012. Under the Skin, dealing with hidden cameras, on some real, with Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson was also in Lucy. Lucy is another one I've mentioned time and time again. Lucy is supernatural metaphysics, dealing with futurology and the SOULPRINT. But this one is Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, if you can get your hands on it. Never Let Me Go, produced in 2010. Splice again, dealing with these illicit genes and genetically modified children. Splice was produced in 2009. Cube, kind of scary horror, but there's truth in it. Limitless, produced in 2011 with Bradley Cooper. Again, this is what happens once you tap in and tune in and fully activate the pineal gland. You only use about up to 10% of your brain. The rest of it is unused, untapped, dormant. Imagine if you used 100% of it. How many languages you could learn to speak, how many instruments you could learn to speak or play, how much you could do and learn and be and have if you tap into and activated the full capacity of the mind. Limitless deals with that. When you open your mind. Robot Stories, produced in 2003. The Quiet Earth, another oldie, 1985. Selfless, God created man, man created immortality, right? Selfless came out in 2015 featuring Ryan Reynolds. It's some deep, they letting you know, but we so dumb. It's just a movie. Yeah, it's just a movie that they've got the technology in the works. And lastly, Sleep Diller, produced in 2008, dealing with drones. Sleep Diller, on some real matrix metaphysics futuristic stuff. And so thank you so much for listening, folks. As always, tremendous love and respect. Have an amazing, wonderful day. Make sure to get those movies. If you can't get it on Netflix, you can find it on cable. You can find it on YouTube or Redbox. Get your hand, even if you just watch half of them, it'll start to change and transform the way you're thinking about the shit you see coming to pass, and how can you make that work for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace and many, 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 many blessings.